an astonishing number of Honda Jazz owners buy another, and the third generation version we're looking at here aims to keep them loyal. But the Japanese brand also needs to attract new converts to its clever little Super Mini, something that will be easier to do with this Mark III model thanks to its smarter looks, better driving experience and unrivaled practicality. For very good reasons, this is the Super Mini that industry insiders most commonly recommend.
Jazz buyers get a single engine option, a 1.3-litre iVTEC petrol unit offering 102 PS and mated to a sweet-shifting 6-speed gearbox. The engine has to be worked quite hard to give of its best, but if you push along, 62 miles an hour from rest can be covered in 11.2 seconds en route to 118 miles an hour. Optional is a CVT automatic gearbox, which enables the Jazz to return very reasonable efficiency figures. 61.4 miles per gallon on the combined cycle and 106 grams per kilometre of CO2. We'd suggest that this variant be appropriate for urban-based buyers only, though. Around the corners, this third-generation model feels a little sharper than before, thanks to more feelsome steering and an AHA active handling assist system that helps get traction down through the bends. Over longer distances, you'll notice the improved refinement too. There's some clever technology as well, like the intelligent speed limiter. It works in conjunction with a traffic sign recognition system, and the setup knows what the prevailing speed limit is, and it limits your pace accordingly. So there's absolutely no chance of absent-mindedly creeping past 30 miles an hour and getting zapped by a roadside camera. This Mark III model Jazz focuses on sense and sensibility. No futuristic Civic-style flourishes here. If you happen to be familiar with previous generation versions of this car, then first impressions will be that this Super Mini is slightly larger this time around and perhaps, well, just a little bit more grown up. That'll suit the target market. Across the grille and headlamps at the front, Honda's stylists have pursued the solid wing theme that's common throughout their current model range. Strong lines emerge from the bold X shape of the bumper and grille and then rise around the lower edge of the headlamps and over the bonnet, creating what the brand hopes is a secure, planted look. Time to take a seat inside. Now, we've always thought that Honda is very good at front-of-cabin design. Other manufacturers might deliver classy ambiances and higher quality materials, but in terms of driving comfort and ease of use, this Japanese brand seems to be more precisely tuned in than most when it comes to creating an at-the-wheel experience that feels just right from the moment you set off. Through the three-spoke multifunction steering wheel, you're presented with a prominent speedometer that's deeply recessed into a silver-bezeled binnacle and flanked by two smaller circular gauges, the left one showing revs and the one on the right being a TFT screen that shows key driving data. Anything that this display can't tell you will be covered by a glance at this centre panel, angled towards the driver and incorporating the key addition to the interior of this third-generation Jazz model, this 7-inch Honda Connect colour infotainment touchscreen. Time to take a seat in the rear. The Jazz has always been the most spacious car in its class, and thanks to a 30mm wheelbase increase this time around, it still is. What really marks this Jazz apart from its contemporaries, though, is the packaging brilliance that continues to allow it to stand out, made possible by the way that the fuel tank has been positioned under the front seats to liberate the floor of the cabin and allow the seats to be folded into all sorts of permutations. Let's take just one of them, the so-called refresh mode. People in the back, exhausted on a longer trip, would use this when there's no one in the front passenger seat. This setting allowing that front seat back to be reclined into a flat position, meeting the rear seat base. Perhaps, though, you're in need of greater practicality, specifically for the carriage of the kind of tall items that you normally wouldn't expect to be able to accommodate in a car like this. Maybe a small potted tree that you bought from the garden centre, or perhaps a bulky item of electrical equipment. Now that is when you use the Magic Seat Tall mode, where the front of the rear seat base rises up and can be locked into a vertical position to leave a cargo height of 1,280mm from floor to ceiling, allowing the object in question to be loaded in behind the front seats. The other two Magic Seat settings relate to the more conventional cargo configurations that we're going to have a look at now. Raise the rear hatch and you'll note the wide cargo opening and low loading lip that pave the way towards a class-leadingly large 354-litre boot that's 17 litres bigger than that of the previous model. But let's say you need more room and you want to push forward the 60-40 split folding rear seats to, for example, store something like a bicycle. Now that's when you move into the Magic Seat system's utility mode. And the first thing you notice with that is the ease of the folding process. Here, though, you only have to release a simple lever mechanism and then push forward and watch as the backrest and seat base retract together into the rear footwell in one quick, fluid motion. If you're not using the front passenger seat, there's the option to recline it as part of the final Magic Seat long mode. With this done, items as long as 2,480mm can be accommodated. Ask almost any motoring expert to recommend the Super Mini that they would buy with their own money, and a large number will plump for this one. It isn't the feistiest car of its kind on a twisty road, but we'd trade that for this model's superb gearbox and long journeying refinement. At the end of the day, though, that isn't really why we'd suggest that so many Super Mini buyers might really like this Honda. No, for us, it's still the cleverness of the car's packaging that impresses most, with its neat Magic Seat flexibility and TARDIS-like cabin. It's also a pleasant surprise to find that this Jazz has been so competitively priced, that despite the fact that it's now one of the best equipped models in the segment. It's also one of the safest too. If you add all of this together, you begin to appreciate just why this car has such a dedicated following. Try one and you'll understand.